you sick of 75% keyboards? Are you looking for a really good TKL option? Well, this might be the keyboard for you. This is the brand new Epomaker P87, a full aluminum TKL that won't absolutely demolish your wallet. It's as close as you can get to a rainy 75, my favorite keyboard of 2024, but in a larger TKL layout, because if you want a premium 10 keyless keyboard, you're basically stuck with two options, the Evo 80 and the Crush 80. And while they're both really good, they come in a hefty $200 price tag when you consider stuff like shipping. But this new keyboard, the Epomaker P87, drops the price by a big chunk. But are there sacrifices at this cheaper price point? And is it worth getting over something like a rainy 75? Let's get into it. Epomaker did sponsor this video, but they do not get to review it before it goes live. So when I first got this keyboard, I was pretty suspicious. There's no way this keyboard is aluminum, TKL, and this price? Even just 2 to 3 years ago, a keyboard like this would easily cost $300. After getting it out of the box, feeling the hefty case, and taking a really good look at it, this thing's pretty nice. So after testing it for about a week or so, I have to say this thing is surprisingly good. But should you consider buying it? On the keyboard, you have a rotary knob on the top right to change volume levels on the fly. I wish it was better integrated into the case, as it looks a little silly with the square around it. There's also a small LED strip above the arrow keys with the Epomaker logo on it. You can program this with the software if you want to change the color or just turn it off. The keyboard itself has RGB as well, which you can tweak with a few shortcuts on the keyboard. There's a toggle switch on the back for switching between wired 2.4 and Bluetooth, which is a huge plus over options like the Evo 80 and the Crush 80, where you have to take off caps lock to turn it on and then hold a few things to make it work. Although for some reason, this toggle doesn't have legends, which is sort of frustrating. When you're facing the switch, it's right for 2.4 and left for Bluetooth. It's also nice that the keyboard works as soon as you plug it in wired or 2.4. For Bluetooth, you need to hold FN and Q. If you want to do multiple devices, you can do up to 3. You can assign devices to FNW and FNE as well. The case is nice and heavy and made of aluminum. There's no fancy backplate or anything unique. It's just a simple, no frills design. It does feel like you miss out on some of the smaller details on other keyboards, such as this backplate, a tritone keycaps, and some nice accents. In the box, you get a manual. It shows you all the keyboard shortcuts for stuff like switching between Windows and Mac mode, pairing different devices, and toggling RGB effects. Definitely hang on to it. There are a few extra switches along with a braided cable, a keycap and switch puller combo, and a little baby Allen wrench for opening up the case. For color options, you get 2 choices. You can either go with the all black or the khaki colorway if you're into a little retro look. They both look very professional, like you can use them in an office or anywhere really, and it matches with anything. They might be a bit on the boring side, but it's nice that they're not too gamery or tacky or anything out of this world like orange and gray. It would be nice if there were more colorways like with the Rainy or with the Evo 80, and maybe just a few more keycap options, but they could roll out more options in the future. You also get 3 switch options, which we'll talk about more later. The typing experience on this thing is really nice. It makes a nice poppy noise that's satisfying and easy to use. It's a huge improvement over a keyboard that you might have gotten just a few years ago. It's gasket mounted, so it's bouncy, it's soft to type on, and the gaskets feel even across the keyboard. The stabilizers on the larger keys are pre-lubed and well-tuned, so no rattly keys at all. However, the backspace is really loud for some reason. It doesn't necessarily sound bad, just super loud. With tactile switches though, the backspace sounds like a bomb going off. The keycaps on these boards are pretty simple. There's not a lot going on here. They're a classic cherry profile, double shot PBT. They're comfortable to type on, and they have 2 layers of plastic, so it's more durable. It won't wear down or look greasy from your fingertips constantly using them. There are a couple small errors on them though, and I have to say they feel cheaper and not as nice as the Rainy 75, which comes with tritone keycaps. The black version of this board has black keycaps. Duh. Well, the khaki version of this board has 2 shades of retro gray, like a darker shade and a lighter shade, but they're barely different where it just looks like the same color. The switch option you go with matters a lot. And there is a wrong option. I'm only half joking here. You have 2 linear options and 1 tactile option. The tactile option is a Wisteria tactile, and whatever you do not get this unless you enjoy an extremely loud keyboard or you're trying to torture people next to you. It's seriously loud. I could not focus when Jake was using it. It's so loud. Instead, I'd choose between the Wisteria linears or the Zebra switch. Both of these sound and feel amazing. However, I'm more partial to the Zebra switch. It sounds a bit more creamy and thoggy and has a lighter key press, making it easier for those long typing sessions, while the Wisteria is slightly clackier and heavier to type on. The keyboard has south-facing sockets, so you won't get any interference when using cherry keycaps like what they're using here. And each switch does have a little bit of switch wobble, but it's not bad. I'll include the sound test with all 3 switches later on so you can compare them for your own pleasure. When you open up the keyboard, there's no ball catch system that lets you open it without screws like you would find on the Evo 80. This would have been nice, but I don't think most people really care that much about ball catch because they aren't interested in taking apart their keyboard over and over and over and over again anyways. They just want their keyboard to look and feel great out of the box, but when you do open it, carefully remove the 2 ribbon cables without breaking them. Now you can get a better look at the top and bottom cases on the boards. The finish doesn't look quite as high quality as the Evo 80 or Crush 80, and the colors are definitely more dull, but there's no imperfections or errors on it. And this keyboard is a lot cheaper, so it makes sense why they would save some money here. The plate on this keyboard is polycarbonate plastic with no flex cuts. Finally, you also get 4 layers of foam, the black and stretchy plate foam called PET, and you also get an IXPE switch sheet, which gives it the nice rich marbly sound. And there's super thin plastic film that they're calling a latex sandwich pad. I don't recommend tearing it off because it doesn't stick as well when you put it back on. The bottom is a super thin EVA foam along with a really porous piece of foam as well. Then you have a super simple PCB without any flex cuts either. I like that they opted for the removable gaskets here. They're gray, they're silicone, they're nice and stretchy, and they're easy to remove. The keyboard comes with a chunky 4000 mAh battery, so it will last a long time between charges, especially if you turn the RGB off. And it works with via a browser-based software that's super easy to use. Good job, Epomaker! You just download the JSON file and then you can remap your keys and play with your RGB and do all that good stuff. If you're into gaming, the keyboard has a 1000 Hz polling rate or 1 millisecond delay with wired and 2.4G. The Bluetooth is definitely slower at 125 Hz or 8 millisecond delay. For most gamers though, this is gonna be fast enough. But if you really do want a good gaming keyboard, I'd opt for a Hall effect keyboard instead of a mechanical keyboard. So overall, this is a great option for a TKL and one of the few options that's fully aluminum and not too expensive. Unfortunately, TKLs still aren't quite as good or as affordable as 75% options like the Rainy, but this is a good step in that direction and a lot more affordable than the other options currently out there. Here's what it sounds like with each switch option. Check out my review of the Rainy 75 right here.